I want to welcome you here today. This work is something that could not be done without the energy and effort of you making yourselves available, public participation, volunteering, and we are truly grateful that you all have decided to be a part of what this is going to become. Just a little housekeeping we want to address. If you're new to the building, the ladies' room is on this side of the building, men's room is on this side. I want to remind everyone that this is a live stream recorded meeting, so any comments that you make, please speak into the microphone, otherwise it won't pick up on the broadcast. Just want to give you a quick outline of the evening. The first thing we'll do is kind of get you acquainted with staff, our team, with communications and public engagement, the legal department, the city clerk, and other staff that might be here. Were instrumental in making sure that tonight could happen. I'll introduce the facilitators. They'll give you a chance to introduce yourselves, and the next thing that'll happen after that is that we'll move into the business and work that the facilitators have outlined for the One High Point Commission. So, as staff, we will be your liaisons for support. If you have questions, if you have records requests, anything that comes will be funneled through staff and we'll follow our standard processes. That's easier. Many of you have already signed up for your city email addresses, so that'll be your official means of communication for this official work that's happening with the commission. This is a public event. This is the first of many. So this is open to the public, open to the media, and we are happy that they're here as well. So the first thing that I'd like to do is talk about the way that we'll be handling this process. We are very fortunate to have our friends at WPR Consulting. They'll be helping navigate the entirety of this process. So as we'll talk about a little bit later, this is a year commitment of your time, effort, and energy. So we want to make sure that we stay on course, that we follow a timeline, that we have our beginning, middle, and end. So we'll be introducing them briefly. But at this point, I'd like to turn it over to our city attorney and our deputy city clerk. They've got a presentation that they want to talk about, sort of introduce kind of why we're here and go over some of the rules of the road, if you will. Joanne Carlisle and Mary Brooks.
Hey, good evening. I'm Joanne Carlisle. I'm the City of High Point City Attorney, and we're lucky to have with us tonight Mary Brooks, who is the Deputy City Clerk. Our City Clerk, Lisa Veerling, has given her resignation or retirement, I think is where she's headed. So lucky for us tonight again that Mary is joining us, because you'll probably be working more with Mary throughout the next year. Lisa's last day, I think, is the end of June. We're probably going to be the most interesting part of your meeting tonight, because we're going to keep this as informal as we possibly can. I guess we would ask that questions be kept to the end if you have some questions for us. And we're kind of going to tag team this. We didn't want to bore you with a lot of redundancy. There's a lot of crossover between what the city clerk does, and we work so closely together, she and I as the city attorney. And we didn't want to, again, just repeat ourselves. Mary, get up here and say what she says, and then Joanne, get up here and you go, well, Mary just said that. So please bear with us. In addition, to make things more difficult for the staff, especially Ryan and his group, my presentation was in Word and Mary's was in PowerPoint. So, you know, if you are not here tonight in person, I want you to know that you will be able to view the documents as you listen online. And if you are here tonight in person, you have been provided both of the presentations so that you'll be able to keep those handouts for references to as the year goes on. I want to reiterate what Mr. Hollis said. It's a very exciting evening, and thank you so much for the time that you've agreed to spend serving your community like this. That's what we do for a living, and we certainly do enjoy it, and we're here to offer our services as you continue throughout this. So we'll just start, I guess. Again, this is going to be a tag team, and we are, PowerPoint and Word, we thought they got along better, I think, before we started this tonight. Anyway, we'll start by talking about public bodies. You heard Mr. Hollis a while ago say that, everything that you're going to do is open. You are, the commission is a public body, and the North Carolina General Statutes define public body to include any, and it includes an appointed group, which is you guys, commission, again, which is you guys, that's composed of 2 or more members and exercises some authorities, including administrative or advisory functions. Again, that includes all of what you guys will be doing. The commission was created under the North Carolina laws governing the city of High Point as the municipal corporation and its city council. In accordance with the same, the council rules of procedure, Section 14, and the City Council's adoption of the February 7, 2022 resolution that you guys probably already have puts you in order and ready to begin business. Did you want to add to that, Mary?
No.
Oh, sure. Oh, sorry. As you can tell, Mary and I usually sit at the table where the facilitators are, and we are completely out of place. And we do hope you appreciate our informality tonight. We have some good information to share with you.
Okay, good evening. Again, my name is Mary Brooks. I am the Deputy City Clerk for the City of High Point. And thanks again for allowing us to be a part of your initial meeting of the One High Point Commission. Open meetings. The commission's official meetings are open to the public. And the open meetings law basically gives the public the right to attend official meetings of public bodies. And official meetings are basically an assembly gathering together, simultaneous communication by means of telephone or via Zoom, etc., by a majority or a quorum of the public body, which is the One High Point Commission.
Sure, and when you talk about a majority, if you can always just think, what is the majority? It is half of you plus 1. So even if you're on, that'd be, I guess, a number of 7 of you on the telephone on a conference call, or emailing one another at the same time, or meeting in person. Anything less than that is not considered an open meeting, but otherwise, it's something that has to be noticed by the clerk. She actually has to publish a notification to the public in case anyone is interested in attending, whether that be in person or, virtually by Zoom or by Teams, as Mary had just mentioned. One of the things that I mentioned about the way in which you'll be conducting your meetings has to do with parliamentarian procedures. The commission shall conduct its meeting in accordance with the generally accepted rules of procedure. It's the same as council, basically. We look to Robert's Rules of Orders when conducting the meetings and trying to determine, when there is a quorum, when, again, that would be half plus 1 of you. Once a quorum has been confirmed, then you can actually conduct meeting. If you don't have a quorum show up for a meeting, all you can do is adjourn. You can take no action if there's not at least 7 of you. So again, if there's 13, you have to have 7 members in order to validly conduct business. Thank you again for our patience. We will, we'll work on our electronic skills before we see you again, we promise. Another thing, along with the parliamentarian procedures that you'll be required to do is to keep minutes of your meetings. The good news that I hear from Mr. Hollis is that these will not be written, but your meetings are all going to be recorded on audio. So what that means is that if anyone wants to request a copy of that, then they can actually request a copy of that audio, and it would be part of the public records.
Yes, and I'm actually the administrator for the Just FOIA portal that receives public information requests, and we've already received public requests for the One High Point Commission. And just be mindful that anything you do, say, minutes or audios are part of the public records, according to the General Statute, Chapter 132.
Yeah, one really good thing for you guys is that you've been assigned a City of High Point email address. I can't tell you enough, just please use that whenever you're conducting any business with regards to the commission. One really good reason to do that instead of using your personal email is that when we have a public records request, we won't have to ask you for your personal email as well, because nobody wants to get into all of that, right? But if you do business on your personal email, believe it or not, that's still a public record. Even though it's on your personal email, your personal computer and everything, if it is the One High Point Commission business, it can be received and reviewed by anyone that makes that request. And as Mary just mentioned, we have already received some requests. There's a portal set up. The clerk will explain all of that. When requests come in, the staff is going to deliver that request to the clerk's office. The clerk will then take those requests, everything that's received, into the portal, and then we will look at it, the legal department will look at it to see if there's any personal information in there that would not be considered a public record. At that point, we'll either not release that record, or we'll redact anything that should not be released. Just another thing to remember too, that includes not just emails, but anything that you would write, any videos, any pictures, any audios, in any form that you can possibly imagine, it is considered a public record. I wanted to talk a little bit too about the authority. The commission is created by the authority of the High Point City Council for the purpose of providing advice and recommendations. You have an authority in an advisory capacity to the City Council. The resolution that was adopted in February of '22 established the commission, describes the responsibilities that you guys are going to take on, as well as the written report of findings that you'll be bringing back to the City Council within 12 months from today. You do not have authority beyond the advisory and the recommendation part of it, of coming back to City Council. Keep in mind, you're not able to contract as the commission or individually or in any subcommittees that you should form. You can't employ or obligate the commission or the City Council or the City of High Point in any way. All of that would have to go back through City Council as a request, which you can bring to them. One thing that I want to make really important as far as understanding your roles tonight, because I know you've got a lot of work cut out for you. It's going to be a big year ahead. I want to make sure that you are successful in every way, shape, and form. So keep in mind that, I know you've heard about some laws that just forbid certain things to be done. Know that unlike cities in some other states, North Carolina's powers are completely limited to that the General Assembly assigns to us. If the General Assembly has not given a municipality a certain authority, we can't do it, right? Furthermore, obviously, we have to act in accordance with the federal and the North Carolina Constitution, as well as certain case law. It places limitations and restrictions on how and what actions can be taken by the City Council, and upon the receipt of your recommendations to City Council, I want to make sure that everything is in position so that we can actually take action on it. So I'm going to be a resource. I don't know if my assistant city attorney, I think she has left for the evening, but we are certainly going to be a resource to staff to make sure that, we try to keep on a track that things can be successful, because none of those laws mean that this commission will not be unable or will be unable to experience great successes, which will really result in lasting effects on the city, and not just in the city of High Point. I think it will go far beyond that. But I just want you to know that, legal department's going to be available to make sure that you're able to navigate this and get where you want to be, and again, have much success. I thank you again. Mary, did you have anything? We're glad to answer any questions if you have any. We'll both be resources throughout the year, and I appreciate your time.
With regards to the quorum, is there a certain time that you have to have the meeting open to determine, you get 7 people, say from the beginning you meet at 6, you wait 6:15, 6:30, half an hour?
It's not set. You can wait and give people a chance. Sometimes, in fact, our council, somebody will be running late, and, we all text now, and they'll be like, so-and-so says they're in the building, or they're on the, getting on the elevator. So, just a reasonable amount of time, whatever that group, whoever was in attendance would think is reasonable. Well, very exciting, and thank you again, all of you, both for tolerating our extremely, I'll say my lack of skills, and thank you, Ryan and John, for assisting us with the presentation.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Joanne. We appreciate that information, and I'm sure we'll all govern ourselves accordingly. At this time, I want to recognize a little early, before we start doing introductions, 2 of our elected officials, Councilmember Michael Holmes and Councilmember Tyrone Johnson. So just wanted to recognize them and thank them for being here. I mentioned earlier that we were very fortunate to have WPR Consulting here, and I want to introduce the 2 gentlemen that will be navigating and kind of steering this group through the process. I'll start with Mr. Willie Ratchford. He's the president of WPR Consulting, LLC. He's responsible for developing, directing, and implementing programs and activities to maintain and improve community relations, directing and reviewing equal opportunity investigations and discrimination complaints, and recommending solutions for community problems, and providing training in anti-discrimination laws, ordinances, and regulations. He oversees strategic operations, planning, business planning, and the development of goals and objectives for WPR Consulting, LLC. Presently, the Executive Director for the Community Relations Department serving the City of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County in North Carolina. Mr. Rashford received his bachelor's degree in sociology from Tufts University in Medford, Massachusetts, completed 1 year of study towards a master's in social work at UNC Chapel Hill. He's a graduate of the John F. Kennedy Leadership School at Harvard University and the Institute of Government at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Certificate in Municipal Administration, the Charlotte Chamber Leadership School, and focus on leadership. He's also a certified trainer in mediation, diversity, fair housing, and sexual harassment. Mr. Ratchford has been active in civil rights for over 42 years, and in 1998, he received the Charlotte Area Peace Corps Association's first Peace Prize for his work to reduce tensions and foster a spirit of harmony in the community. In 2005, he received the Individual Human Rights Award from the National Association of Human Rights Workers and the Nancy Susan Reynolds Award for Race Relations in 2006, presented by the Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation, to recognize persons who have encouraged and motivated improved relationships among people of different racial and ethnic backgrounds. In 2008, he received the Spirit of Detroit Award in recognition of exceptional achievement, outstanding leadership, and dedication to improving the quality of life for everyone. In 2011, he received Mecklenburg Ministries' Annual Community Leader Award. In 2015, Charlotte Mayor Dan Clodfelter presented to Mr. Radford the Mayor Richard Benroot Award for outstanding community service for his work to help calm community tensions in the wake of the trial of a police officer accused of killing a citizen. He is past president of the National Association of Human Rights Workers. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Willie Ratchford. Next is Anthony Wade, PhD. He is a human resources and diversity professional who provides organizational consulting services in the areas of human capital solutions. This includes, but it's not limited to, diversity, equity, and inclusion, talent management, compensation administration, change management, employee relations, equal employment opportunity, adult education and training, and leadership development. An honorably retired U.S. Air Force veteran and retired local government executive, Wade's professional history includes service as a Chief Human Resources Officer and Human Relations Director for local governments and higher education in Texas, Colorado, and North Carolina. His last military assignment included serving as a Director of Base Military Equal Opportunity and Human Relations Education for a workforce population of 10,000 plus military members and civilian employees. Additionally, Wade is an adjunct associate professor of graduate studies in human resources management with Webster University. Wade holds a bachelor's degree in human resources administration from St. Leo University in St. Leo, Florida, and a master's degree in management from Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri. He holds an earned doctorate of philosophy in education and human resource studies with a specialization in organizational performance and change from Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado. A graduate of the Institute of Government at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Wade is also a graduate and past chair of Leadership North Carolina. Additionally, he's a graduate of the Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute at Patrick Air Force Base in Cocoa Beach, Florida. He's nationally certified as a Department of the Army EEO counselor by the U.S. Army's EEO Compliance and Complaints Review Division in Washington, D.C., a professional in human resources by the Human Resource Certification Institute in Alexandria, Virginia, and a certified professional in human resources by the Society for Human Resource Management in Alexandria, Virginia. Wade's experience in diversity, fair employment, and human relations spans nearly 40 years in the public, private, higher education, and military sectors. In '92, he was recognized as the top equal opportunity treatment and human relations program manager at the United States Air Force Air Education and Training Command, and the first runner-up for the same award, Air Force Worldwide. In 1999, the Wilmington City Council and the New Hanover County Commissioners in North Carolina presented him with resolutions of appreciation for outstanding excellence and service as the county's Human Relations Director. In 2004, he received the Diversity Recognition Award for his work in hosting and facilitating the City and County of Denver, Colorado's Diversity Committee's Professional Development Workshop Forum, successfully educating elected and appointed officials, senior department heads, and committee members on the progressive diversity initiatives and strategies. He was recognized in 2015 by the U.S. Army's 71st Ordnance Group for providing professional development training for soldiers assigned as military equal opportunity officers and advisors across bases in 5 states. He's a charter member and was the first president of the Colorado State Chapter of the National Association of African Americans and Human Resources, as well as a past regional vice president and life member. He's also a past president of the National Association of Human Rights Workers. Dr. Anthony Wade, everyone. So before I bring one of them up, I wanted to be very, very specific and very intentional about letting the community and the group know who we've chosen as facilitators to help give us staff support. That gives you some insight to their experience and some of the collective wisdom that they're bringing into this conversation. So without further ado, one of these 2 gentlemen will come and take the next steps.
Okay. Thank you, and how is everyone this evening?
Good evening.
Dr. Wade and I, we're humbled to have been given this opportunity to work with this one commission. As we read over the resolution that was approved by your elected officials, we were impressed with what the task is and what it is that you all are going to do. In a minute, I'm going to have Dr. Wade to come up and talk about who we are, just very briefly, talk about the charge that we've received, and then we're going to get into the heart of the agenda and our purpose for being here tonight. There are going to be a couple of things that we're going to need from you all to make this work. And I would remind you that tonight, a lot of the work will be around us trying to prepare you for the work that is to come, including taking some time to decide how is it that you guys fight. And fighting is okay. It creates conflict, but from our perspective, conflict is a natural part of life. If it wasn't, it wouldn't happen so much. So the question becomes, when you find yourselves in conflict or you're fighting, do you manage the conflict or the fight, or do you allow it to manage you? And we would suggest that those of us who end up getting in trouble are people who would allow the conflict or the fight to manage them. But if you are mindful of the conflict resolution styles and you manage it, then fighting is not necessarily a bad thing. We're going to need two things from you. One, we're going to need your cooperation. And secondly, we're going to need you to listen to what it is that we have to say. But more importantly, it will be important that you all listen to what each other has to say. We're going to ask that you be what we call active listeners, keeping in mind that there's a difference between hearing what a person has to say and actively listening. Hearing what a person has to say is what happens on Saturday afternoon when I'm laid back in the recliner watching the game, and one of my daughters might say to me, "Dad, the house is on fire." And I say, "Okay," and I keep looking at the game. If I'm an active listener, it should register to me that I need to get up and do something and save somebody. An active listener is a person who listens not only with ears, you also listen with your eyes and you listen with your heart. The eyes are important because there's some studies which indicates that when two human beings are engaged in conversation, about 50 to 60% of the messages that are being conveyed back and forth actually happens through body language. So that means that you have to see the person in order to understand all that he or she may be trying to convey to you. And there are ways to tell if you're a good active listener or not. If you and I are engaged in conversation and I can repeat back to you what you've said, then obviously I have listened. At the same time, if we're engaged in conversation and I'm thinking about something else, or I'm talking to someone else, then I am not listening to you. In fact, if you're in conversation with someone and you're thinking about what you're going to say to them in response to what they're saying while they are talking, then you're not listening. And so we're going to ask you to suspend everything as you take an opportunity to listen to one another. There's a reason the word listen and the word silent contain the same letters. The word listen and the word silent contain the same letters, and there's a reason for that. There are other ways that you can tell if you can tell whether you are an active listener or not. How many of you have that one special friend in your life you wouldn't trade them for anything in the world, but they drive you crazy because every time you see them, they repeat the same thing over and over and over again, and hopefully you're not that person. The way to get that person to stop is to call their name, repeat back to them what they have said, and that way they know that you have heard all that they have in fact said. So with all of that, by show of hands, commissioners, how many of you are good active listeners? Okay, that's just about everybody, and I don't know if I trust that or not. So Gerard and Jelani asked me to test that out just to be sure. So we're going to run you through a quick little test to see if you are active listeners. I am going to spell 3 words. Once you recognize what the word is, call it out aloud, please. Then I'll ask you a question, and then we'll see if you're good active listeners or not. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. F-O-R.
Four.
F-O-U-R.
Four.
F-O-R-E.
Four.
And what do you eat soup with?
Fork.
What do you eat soup with? If you eat it with a fork, you're not listening. Okay? S-I-L-K. What is the word?
Silk.
Say it quickly 3 times.
Silk.
And what do cows drink? What do cows drink?
Water.
They drink water just like the rest of the animal kingdom. Now, if you all don't start to get this right, we leave it. We're not going to work with you guys, okay? S-H-O-P. What is the word? Shop. Say it quickly 3 times.
Shop, shop, shop.
And what do you do at a green light?
Stop.
At a green light. R-O-A-S-T. What is the word?
Roast.
Say it quickly 3 times.
Roast, roast, roast.
And what do you put into a toaster?
Bread.
Bread. That's right. It's not toast until you take it out. Okay, I think that you're starting to get it, so we'll do this one more time just to be sure. And I'll say in advance that I'm going to trick you. You know that. I'm going to fool you. F-O-L-K. What is the word?
Folk.
Say it quickly 3 times.
Folk, folk, folk.
And what do you call the white of an egg?
Yolk.
Yolk. Thank you. You have just become active listeners because an active listener will take 2 or 3 or 4 seconds to make sure that they have heard what has been said before they respond. And so as we go through this process over the next year, I think we're scheduled for 14 or 15 meetings between now and June of 2023. It is important that you all listen to one another. And that means that if you need to have a conversation with someone, and if they don't have the time at that time, then don't have that conversation with them. Set aside a time that is mutually agreeable to talk and to listen. And always remember to take 3 or 4 seconds just to make sure that you have heard what has been said. I'm going to ask Dr. Wade to come up and talk about the charge and a little about WPR, and then I'll come back and do an agenda review, and we will get into the heart of the meeting.
I believe that Mr. Hollis has something he'd like to share.
Yeah, just one bit of housekeeping. This is being streamed by audio, so people can't see your faces. So as much as you can remember when you speak, say who you are. You know, I'm Jerron Hollis, before you make your comment. That way, if someone's listening to audio, they know who's speaking and they just don't hear random voices. You'll probably hear me remind you of that again, but just kind of keep that in mind because, again, this is being recorded. So just wanted to say that. Thank you, Dr. Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Hollis. I am Dr. Anthony Wade, and again, we at WPR Consulting are honored. We're also humbled to be part of this process, and an incredible process it is. There are only a handful of communities throughout the state of North Carolina, and I would dare say throughout the country, who are having these types of courageous conversations about this particular topic. So we applaud you in advance for taking on such an important task, and our job is to support your success in achieving the objective. So a little bit about what we're all about, WPR Consulting. You know the president, Willie Ratchford, and I serve as one of his consultants. And our charge, our primary operations are tailored for this type of project. We lay them out into 4 places, in 4 lines: diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, organizational performance and change, community engagement, and management consulting services. This entire discussion about exploring the concept of reparations for citizens in High Point, it embodies the concepts of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. Now, many individuals have heard before about diversity, equity, and inclusion. A lot of times you've heard that 4th letter might be belonging, justice, other types of descriptions for that 4th element. And we'll get into that as we go through this process. But suffice it to say that for the purposes of this discussion, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice are 4 elements that there are no substitutes for them. If those aren't part of the discussions that we have, if those are not parts, if that's not the lens through which you can view this process, then we'll have to have some conversations about where we can reconcile a person's different view from the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and justice. Community engagement, clearly, all of you who've been appointed represent this community. You were selected because you are stakeholders in this community, you love this community, and this topic cannot be accurately and adequately addressed unless you do have committed citizens who bring with them their heart as well as their intellect, their various lenses that come out as a result of your socialization process. And our lenses are the result of our socialization, the sum total of parents, peers, churches, friends that have impacted upon us since the day we were born. And because no people's life experiences have been the same, not even twins, then no two people's perspectives about any subject are going to be exactly alike. They're going to be all inherently different. The importance of each one of your individual perspectives is that when you bring together this many individuals in a room with the degree of intelligence and just wisdom that you have, somewhere in the middle of those differing perspectives and lenses is probably the best solution that supports this process. And so we are honored again to have the opportunity to work with you, and we look forward to exploring the concept, which is our charge, of facilitated dialogues to explore reparations for African American citizens of the city of High Point. Mr. Ashford.
Thank you, Dr. Wade, and I'm going to see if I can work this. Here we go. What I want to do now is to quickly go over the agenda for the rest of the night and what it is that you all will be doing. As I indicated earlier, a lot of the exercises tonight are designed to prepare you for this work that you're going to do, including the building of relationships. I don't know how well that you all know each other, but I do know the importance of relationships in this type of endeavor, especially considering that you're going to be together for close to a year, if not a little over a year. I had failed to mention earlier, we are facilitators in this process, and the word facilitate means to make the process easy, and we've created a process that we'll take you through tonight and in the coming months. And as we see it, our job is the easy job because we simply have to keep you all focused on the process. The real hard work will be had by the people who are sitting at the dais tonight as well as the table right over here. And so with regards to our agenda for tonight, we're going to start off with our introductions, and we're going to ask that you all introduce yourselves to each other, and I'll explain what we would like to hear from you when you do the introductions. We will spend some time preparing you for difficult conversations. I have been doing human relations work and civil rights work for almost 42 years now, and I have learned, especially when you have black and white folk in the same room, it is a real difficult and a real hard conversation. I have also discovered that when people know each other and they like each other despite race, then it becomes a really easy conversation to have. So the establishing relationships, not only with this group, but with others in the communities that may be impacted by this process, regardless of their identity, that's going to be important. We'll talk about some conversation guidelines and group norms, and we have prepared some guidelines for tonight's conversation. However, those may not be what you all want or what you need, and so we'll give you some time to brainstorm on what you think might be some good conversation guidelines and group norms for your group. Again, we'll talk about the importance of building interpersonal relationships and addressing interpersonal conflicts. We're going to do a quick little exercise which gives us some sense of your personal conflict resolution style. And when we go through that exercise, it's going to be crucially important that you pay attention to the styles of your fellow commission members. And that way, when you fight with them, you know how best to fight with them. Okay? We're going to review the resolution of City Council. And we had asked staff to send the resolution to each of you last night. I hope that you have taken an opportunity to review it because I want to hear from you all what you read and what you think about it. So be thinking about that now, and if you need to sneak in a quick little few reads, you got about 10 or 15 minutes before we get to that part of the agenda. We're going to spend some time electing a commission chair and vice chair, and you all will get to make that choice. You can make nominations and vote on the floor tonight, as I understand the process. Okay. We'll talk about future meeting dates and venues and timelines for this commission work. We have created a template for commission meetings, and we're going to share that with you again. This is just our suggestion. It's possible that you all may want to do something a little differently, and that is perfectly fine. A lot of the stuff that we present tonight will be etched in jello, and if you all have a sense or a need to change it, that is okay. We'll talk about the operational guidelines, and as I heard the city attorney earlier, it would appear that Robert's Rules of Order might be the best way to go. However, from time to time, you have some situations in which consensus building might be a little better. Now, the difference between Robert's Rules of Order and consensus building is that consensus building could be a little more sloppy and could take a much longer time because you're trying to get 13 people not only on the same page but in the same book on the same page. Very often we interact with folk and we think that we got things straightened out, and we leave that situation thinking that we're good, we're on the same page, and things still go sideways. And as it turns out, it's because you were on the same page, but you were in different books. So we want you all to be not only on the same page, but in the same book. We'll talk about how you might provide commission updates to elected officials, and again, you all will get an opportunity to decide the best way to actually do that. We're talking about public participation in the commission meetings. How is it that you want the public or those who live here as residents and citizens of High Point to participate in your meetings? We're going to spend some time building the team. You're going to be a team, as I said, for the next 12, 14 months. And that team building actually starts tonight. We're going to give you an opportunity to brainstorm on what you all think a good team might look like, and we'll capture that information and get it back to you at a later time. We then will talk about the next meeting date. And then near the end of the process, we want to know, based on everything that you will have experienced tonight, how is it that you're leaving here tonight? What are you thinking about? And we're going to ask you to just give us one word at that time which describes how it is that you might be leaving. And then we will open it up for any questions that you might have, and then we will adjourn. It is my understanding that we should have you all out of here before 11 o'clock, and I promise to have you out of here before 11 o'clock. I think we're scheduled for 8 o'clock, and we're going to try to work for 8 o'clock. But if I keep saying that and you all react like that, I might wait until 11.
Got to work on that active listening piece.
Yes, they're not listening. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, as I said, is to do introductions. And I'm going to start with my brother here on the end and work my way around and then down to the table here. And I want you to give us your name, tell us how long you have actually lived in High Point, give us a 1-minute bio of who you are, and we're going to ask you for the 1-minute bio. And to make sure that we do this in a timely manner, we ask that you remember the Holy Scripture that reads, "Blessed is he who keeps it short, for he shall be invited back." So we want you to do 1 minute, and then just quickly tell your fellow commission members one thing that they may not know about you just by looking at you. So again, your name, how long you have lived in High Point, a 1 minute or less bio, and one thing that we may not know about you just by looking at you. And if you would, please.
Good evening, everyone, commission members. My name is Charles Hensley, and I'm not an actual resident of High Point. I'm a resident of Jamestown, but I'm a native of North Carolina. My 1-minute bio, I'm a retired prison warden from the Illinois correctional system. I have over 35 years within the correctional justice field. I'm an author, I've published 2 books, working on a 3rd. I'm married for 33 years. I have 3 children, adult children. One just graduated with a master's degree 2 weeks ago. What you may not know about me by just looking at me, I'm a tremendous athlete.
I thank you for that. My sister, if you would, please.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Courtney Wilson, and I am a lifelong member of High Point, North Carolina. I reside in Randolph County, which used to be a governing county township together, Guilford and Randolph. I am a 6th-generation farmer. I could have put that one in, what you didn't know about me. I am an entrepreneur as well. I have owned and operated a mental health facility here in High Point, North Carolina in the past. I'm very passionate about my community and my brothers and sisters in the community. I had set up the first farmers market down on Green Street last summer to bring fresh food back to the community, just to be able to show the community and connect the community back with fresh foods and fresh food options. And one thing you may not know about me is I have an adult son. I have 2 sons, actually. I am a grandmother, a yaya to 1, and then 1 on the way. So thank you for having me this evening.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everybody. I am Bridget Oliver. I've lived in High Point for 15 years. I've lived in North Carolina my entire life. I graduated with my bachelor's from Winston-Salem State University. I got my master's from A&T. I love Black people. And I have 2 kids, and I own my own company. And one thing you may not know about me is that I'm currently working on 2 books right now. So.
Thank you. I like you already because my grandson will be attending Winston-Salem State next year, and my granddaughter just finished her sophomore year at A&T, so you're all right. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Dawn Alston Page, and I have lived in the Triad area for about 20 years, but recently moved back to High Point and actually live right up the street. I could walk here from now on. My bio, well, I'm a descendant of North Carolina slaves, Peter Davis, who is a Civil War veteran. Once he was emancipated, he joined the Civil War, and Jerry Alston, both out of Halifax and Warrenton County. I am formerly of the investment world, a hardcore capitalist, economist, own my own investment firm, 25-year investment professional. I'm about that work. Here to secure the bag for my people. I have a long career in the financial industry, but after a bout with cancer, God saw fit to keep me here, and I believe this is my work, and I am a reparationist and have been for the last 3 years. So yeah, I'm looking forward to really putting in the work here and getting things done. And what you may not know about me is I have 2 children, both attended HBCUs. My daughter is married now, and I'm hoping to be a yaya one day soon. And unfortunately, I'm going to settle on a cat. Yes, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
I'm so honored to be here. So honored.
And my sister, if you don't mind, I'm going to circle back to my sister here. You thought you were going to get out of this, didn't you? We'll circle back to her, then we will come to you. Thank you, sister.
No, actually, it's okay. My name is Constance Reynolds, but I'm actually an alternate, so I don't want to spend too much time on the agenda speaking. But I'm Constance Reynolds. I'm from High Point, born and raised right here in the city of High Point. I'm a single mother. I have twin girls, and they're in the 2nd grade. I'm a 3rd-generation entrepreneur, and something you might not know about me, I'm a screenwriter as well.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm Doris Patrick, I've lived here in High Point 65 years, plus maybe a couple of more. I am a widow, have 3 children, 6 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren. I retired from Wachovia Bank. I also retired from being a substitute teacher. I love working and helping with people. I'm an advocate for the underprivileged person. I listen. I'm going to find out how well I listen. I thought I was a pretty good listener. I think I'm a pretty good listener. But anyway, I am, this is a good assignment, but it's bad to me. It hurt the things that we're going to pick up.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
It's my passion.
Good evening. My name is Robert Sims. I've been in High Point close to 40 years now. My background is in finance. I'm a graduate of High Point University, as well as T. Wingate Andrews High School here in High Point. One thing you may not know about me is that I am a grandfather. So my interest here is for the future of my children and my grandchildren.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Robert Williamson. I've been living in High Point for the past 12 years. I am an Army brat. I was born in North Carolina, Alamance County, Burlington. Wasn't raised there due to my dad being in the military. I graduated from Winston-Salem State in 2003 with a degree in history, minor in political science. Since then, I have worked the past 15-odd years in the field of education and nonprofit. One thing about me that no one would know is that this is the longest I have lived in one area in my entire life.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
My name is Joseph Alston. I am a man of few words. I like to listen and then interject. Let's see. I have a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling from SU in Salem State. My background, professional background, has been in public housing for a number of years. I have been the president of the High Point NAACP, executive director of the state NAACP, one of the first African-American High Point residents to chair one of our political parties here in the county. I've been here for, I've already said this, been here for 42 years. I chose High Point as my home when my wife, who grew up here, told me I was going to choose High Point. So, and we've been fighting the battle for a long time.
Absolutely.
The one thing that you may not know about me, I'm 66 years old, I'm a marathoner, and cyclist.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Janet Riley Wright. I have been in High Point. I think people think I'm in High Point all the time, but I wasn't actually living in High Point. I moved back to High Point several years ago. My family has, seems like, I think, always been in High Point pretty much. So, that's where the High Point story goes. So my 1-minute bio. Let's see, the reason people think I live in High Point is because I do a lot of work in High Point. So I'm either the chair of one nonprofit or the other nonprofit. Presently, I am the chair of the African American Initiative United Way of Greater High Point, and serve on the Macedonia board. I serve on various boards throughout the community. I did graduate from High Point as well. My family is both Northern and Southern, so I'm not always in one or the other space. So that's probably why people don't know where I really belong. So one of the things that you would probably not know about me is I am a 2-time stroke survivor, and I am the first Piedmont Triad Remarkable Woman 2020.
Thank you very much. And now we'll move to the table here, and if you would, please. Yes, sir.
My name is Councilman Michael Holmes. I represent our Ward 6, which is North High Point and in parts of Jamestown. I've been in High Point now for about 13 years, originally from Burlington, Alamance County. My wife and I moved to McLeansville and then ultimately to High Point. My 1-minute bio is I've been in and around politics since I was about 15. Finally decided to become a candidate and was fortunate enough to be elected by the people. I've spent 25 years in training and development, and I'm currently the corporate training manager for international manufacturer. And what people may not know about me is I've been to more than 30 countries.
Nice. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
My name is Councilman Tyrone Johnson, and I represent the at-large, the entire city. And I have lived in High Point almost 51 years. My 1-minute bio is I pastor one of the best churches in High Point, and and I've been preaching for 11 years, pastoring for 9 of those years. Let me change that. I've been preaching for 22 years, if I didn't say that right, and pastoring for 9 years. And I just love serving the community in all those type of avenues, whether it's pastoring, council, this awesome thing that we're going to be doing. And something that you may not know is that years ago, for several years, I used to teach special ed.
Thank you all very much for those gracious introductions. And so I'd like to, at this time, say to the One High Point Commission, these are your fellow commissioners. These are the folk that you will be working with over the next 12 months or so. The one thing I like about the introductions is the amount of commonality that exists. I think that that will serve you well as you go about doing this work. And the interesting thing is that you will find that as you interact with the community to get information, to help build platform and foundation for the recommendations that you might make eventually, you share a lot of these commonalities with everybody who lives in this city. And you may not know it now because we simply don't talk to each other across lines of difference. One of the things that I've learned about human relations work is that we've done a lot of race relations conversations in Charlotte over the past 40-something years. And when we started these conversations, they did not go well. And they didn't go well because we get a bunch of white folk and a bunch of black folk, and we throw them in a room and we say, okay, y'all have a conversation about race. Only to realize that later on, these folk thought that we were absolutely crazy. And we realized over time that it is a difficult conversation when different ethnic groups or racial groups are having that type of talk. But we also learned that if they have relationships and you like each other, then it makes it a really, really easy conversation to have. And this is a conversation that can be difficult amongst just whites, amongst just blacks, or any other racial or ethnic group. But to the extent that you're able to establish those relationships and determine that, we like each other. We like each other. And what that does is that it allows you to have that conversation. You may not necessarily agree on everything that's said, but at the end of the conversation, the relationship stays intact, and you don't feel a need to castigate the other person simply because they see it differently than you, or their point of view is different than yours. The only thing it means is that they just have a different point of view. And in fact, High Point is a great city, and one of the things that makes it great is its diversity and the fact that there are multiple points of view, and they are all as valid as the other. And that will be important as we go about this work. My sister here mentioned the difficulty of doing this work, and it is hard. And I'm going to quickly take you all through an exercise to give you some sense of what you might be dealing with. And it's something that you might want to try with others at a later time. But each of you has been given one blank sheet of paper that should be in your packets.
I'm using that for notes. I need a note.
Okay, it's still okay to use it. If you didn't write on both sides, you're okay. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I need each of you, I'm going to give you about a minute and a half. I need you to draw a picture of yourself, a portrait of yourself on that piece of paper. And we're smart enough to know that most of you are stick figure artists, and that's okay. That's okay. And on that piece of paper that you draw your portrait, we want you to put your name, some of the important people in your life, the one person in your life who loves you unconditionally, and no matter what you did, they would still love you and care for you. And anything else that's important to you, put it on that sheet of paper, starting now. He said they can do the elections. Yeah. No, he said he came up and said we could do it. Just check with him. That must be a good picture for my sister right here in the middle. You have about 45 seconds, please. Do you mind in the election process? Just have them nominate somebody. Yeah. You have 15 seconds. And I'm sorry, but your time is now up. Take a quick second or two and let your neighbors see your picture.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Are you not active?
Did they do a good job of capturing themselves?
Charles did a good job on his report.
Okay, here's what I need you to do now. I need each person to take your portrait and ball it up into a tight wad and set it aside, and we'll come back to it later. So in addition to the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that we gave you, we also gave you 5 little Post-it sticky notes. Do you have those? I need you to now take those notes, and on those notes, I want you to write 1 per sheet of paper. Write down your 5 most important values, or the 5 most important things in the world to you, or the 5 most important people in the world to you, or it could be a combination of those 3 things, but only 1 per sheet of paper. 5 most important things, 5 most important values, or 5 most important persons in the world to you. 1 per sheet of paper. It could be one grouping, or it could be a combination of those three things, but only one per sheet of paper. And if you're having some difficulty thinking of things, it's probably because we normally don't think about these things on a daily basis. You got 10 seconds. Okay. I need everyone to spread your 5 sheets of paper out so that you can see them all at the same time. And I'm about to engage you in what is called a forced choice activity, which means that you have to do what I ask you to do, okay? You have to do what I ask you to do. And the first thing that I need you to do is to use your imaginations and imagine that the space right in front of you is a nasty, smelly, disease-infested trash receptacle. It's like one of those big green garbage cans you find in the back of the hotel that you can smell for 2 blocks away. It is literally that bad. The forced choice activities is this. I need you to look at the 5 things that you have written down. Take the one that is the least important to you, ball it up, and put it in the garbage can because it means nothing. I need you to just throw it away. And it's forced choice, so you have to choose one. And you have to ball it up, and you have to throw it away. Later on, when you all get an opportunity to look at the video of this live stream, I want you to look at your faces at this point in the process. Okay, so that leaves you with how many?
4.
4. I need you to look at the 4. Take the one of the 4 that is the least important to you, ball it up, and put it in the garbage can because it means nothing. I need you to throw it away. That leaves you with how many?
3.
And you know the routine, don't you? Look at the 3. Take the one of the 3 that is the least important to you. My sister's struggling right here. Ball it up and put it in the garbage can because it means nothing. Throw it away. That now leaves you with 2. Look at the 2. Take the one of the 2 that is the least important to you, ball it up, and put it in the garbage can because it means nothing. We want you to throw it away. And that now leaves you with 1, right? Or before we came up here, Jelani and Jerron said, y'all be nice to our people, so I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to allow you to keep this last sheet of paper, okay? So let's process what we've just gone through. Was this hard or was it easy?
Difficult.
It was difficult. What about the rest of you? Was it hard, easy, difficult? What was it?
Easy.
Some of you easy, but some of you hard and difficult? So for those of you who, for whom it was hard or difficult, physically, mentally, and emotionally, what did it feel like as you were having to throw these things away? And I need you to talk to me. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, what did it feel like?
It didn't feel like I had a real choice.
You didn't have a real
I didn't know what to
choice.
expect, so I had put down things that I really cared about.
No choices, absolutely. Thank you. Others, there are no wrong answers here. Physically, mentally, and emotionally.
It felt sacrificial.
It felt sacrificial, absolutely. Talk to me. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, what did it feel like?
I identify with every person every name that I put down. So when I was throwing them away, holding them up, I felt like I was forsaking them.
You were forsaking them, and like you were being torn apart, one small piece at a time.
It was troubling.
It was troubling.
Mentally difficult.
Mentally difficult. I want to hear from you.
That's good, mentally.
Physically, mentally, and emotionally, what did it feel like?
Physically, mentally, and emotionally, It was difficult.
It was
It
difficult.
was very difficult.
Others, physically, mentally, and emotionally, what did this feel like? Talk to me.
Disheartening.
It was hard.
We really had to really think about it and make those tough choices.
Make those tough choices.
But in the span of the time that we had to make that choice, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Most of the times, if we have to make a hard choice, we have time to ponder and research and analyze. But right now, it was make the choice.
Right now.
And you had to look at some of your key values or key people in your lives and decide in an instant who you were going to sacrifice. Or what you
Absolutely.
were going to sacrifice.
Absolutely.
And that is something that, even in our worst situations, we always have at least some time.
Absolutely.
But this time we didn't. So it was extremely
Absolutely.
hard because we didn't have the time to mentally process something that is so important to us, giving it up that quickly.
Absolutely. But you would acknowledge, sometimes you don't have the time. You have to make the quick, hard decision. And it makes you angry and it raises your blood pressure and you just don't know whether you're coming or going, do you?
Right.
Okay. So one of the reasons that we're taking you through this particular exercise is that those feelings that you just expressed, this is what it feels like when you're a victim of racism, when you're a victim of ism, when people treat you differently because of your identity, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I need you all to be in contact with these feelings. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. So that those times that you may see a group of young black men standing on the corner and you wonder why are they so angry? Well, if it was your position that you're going through this on a daily basis, you might be angry also. And here's the really crazy thing about this. You all are in a safe space with 5 little pieces of paper. And if it made you feel this way with these 5 little pieces of paper in a safe space, can you imagine what people who go through this in real life on a daily basis must feel like? When you're a victim of ism, ageism, sexism, for the women on the group, this may have felt familiar because these are also the same emotions that you experience when you're a victim of sexism, when people treat you differently because of your gender. Yes, ma'am.
Can I offer a different perspective? Because I didn't feel any of those emotions.
No. Yes, you can. Absolutely. Please do. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
No, I really am messing with you, but please do. Because a part of this process is understanding different perspectives.
Oh, well, from a different perspective, I feel like I approached the assignment fully aware of where I was, what I was focused on. So everything that there was a value, what was left was still equally as valued.
Excellent, excellent.
Just offer a different perspective.
I think that all of the feelings, the emotions that you've all gone through, you tie those back to your socialization. Each one of you, because you are the unique individuals that you are, and you were forged out of life's experiences that are specific to you, you're going to approach not just this particular exercise in this safe environment, again, in the way that you did, but you'll approach the task that we have at hand in a similar fashion. You will bring that lens, and it's okay to be uncomfortable. In fact, if you're not uncomfortable in dealing with these topics, then we'll have to revisit that as facilitators to make sure we're doing our job so that we're having the type of critical conversations, type of crucial conversations that are necessary in order for you to arrive at the best decisions that support your community. I would also offer one other piece. The discomfort that you felt during this particular exercise, if you could imagine, and the reason why we're here is because of individuals over decades that were deprived of basic human decency, things that were manifest in laws and ordinances and statutes that forced them, they didn't even have an opportunity to choose. It forced them into situations a lot of times not of their own making. And so we return back to the task that you have, which is a sacred task. And And again, it's okay to be uncomfortable while we're having these discussions. The journey is equally as important as the end result. In fact, at the end, whatever the outcome is, I think that the journey, the conversations, friendships, those are the things that will continue on well past the 12-month period that we're together.
Absolutely. And to Dr. Wade's point, over the next 12 months, you all are going to engage in a number of uncomfortable conversations, and we're simply trying to get you prepared for that tonight. And it should be obvious the reason that you will be experiencing these uncomfortable conversations. But it's all part of the process, and in the final analysis, I think it will make for a better process. Now, if you all would grab your balled-up portraits, and I want you to unravel them. And I need you to take that piece of paper that is now your portrait. This is you, that captures you. And I want you to make that paper as smooth and straight as it was before you balled it up. And if you need to rub it on the edge of the... You're right. And I'm going to give you 15 more seconds to get that paper back to its original condition. Did anybody get it back to its original condition? And the obvious answer is that, of course, you didn't. So with regards to the exercise, this portrait that you are trying to straighten up, those nooks and those crannies that you see in the paper, that's the damage that racism causes to individuals. Amen. And once you have been victimized by it, it will stay with you until the day that you die. You may learn to tolerate it, to compartmentalize it to that little secret place in your brain. You may learn to deal with it, but it will be with you until the day you die. And can you imagine this type of damage being passed on to generation to generation to generation to generations of children? That is in part what you all are going to be dealing with as you do this work. The untold damage, the unseen damage in a lot of instances that has happened as a result of certain things in this country, that's what you all are going to be dealing with. And we needed you to experience and to understand that as you get ready for this process. This is what it feels like. This is the damage that it causes. And this is what you will be dealing with when you have conversations with people in this community. And I need you to be in a position to explain exactly what it is that you're dealing with to anybody, regardless of their identity, who lives in this community, because that question will be raised by many, and you need to be in a position to answer it.
May I comment?
Yes.
For the record, my name is Charles Hensley. In reflection to the damage that you spoke of as a result of the wrinkles within this piece of paper, when you was asking us to identify a few things on the paper after we sketched our faces, you mentioned something about anybody who gave you unconditional love, etc. Well, that was some of the things that I did, and my takeaway from what you said about the damage is how much the unconditional love of the community of black folks have endured to help generations of us overcome and sustain our self-respect, our dignity, because of the unconditional love that we gave each other within our family.
Absolutely. Anthony, did you pay him? That was absolutely right on point. That's right on point. Despite the damage, despite the longevity of it, you have persevered. You have persevered. But it doesn't mean that the damage is not, the damage is still there. And we need to recognize that. We need to recognize that. In fact, it's this type of damage, there's a lot of conflict in many communities when we hear the term Black Lives Matter. And there are a lot of folk who would say, well, black people are saying, well, you know, only Black Lives Matter. That's not what black folk are saying at all. Based upon the history of race in this country and the damage that it has caused. It should be clear that black lives don't matter as much as other lives do in this country.
Or in
And
the world.
or even at all. So it only stands to reason in my mind that when black people say black lives matter, what they're saying is that black lives matter also. In order for white lives to matter, black lives must matter also. In order for police lives to matter, then black lives must matter also. In order for all lives to matter, then black lives must matter also. And that's part of your charge. You all need to make sure that people in this community understand that black lives matter also. It's part of your work. Okay? Again, continuing in the vein of preparing you for the conversation, I'm going to take you through a different little exercise now. And this is going to take a few minutes, and this is an exercise that was actually adapted from Resmea Menachem's book, My Grandmother's Hand, and it's called Body Practice. A really phenomenal book, and if you haven't read it or haven't heard of it, you should purchase this book and read it. It is really, really powerful. And so I'm going to need you to put on your active listening skills and listen to me as I take you through this exercise, please. And so what I need you each to do is to sit comfortably in your seats and take a few deep breaths and be mindful of your body. Get in a comfortable position and be mindful of your body. Look around the room and notice its contents, including the other people who are here. Make eye contact if you choose to. Note the sounds that you hear and the smells that fill the air. Any warmth or coolness in any colors that may stand out for you. Notice them. Face forward and close your eyes. Relax and shut the world out, or just shut it down for right now. Breathe deeply and slowly and notice the sensations in your body. Notice the bend of your knees. Notice your spine. Is it straight or is it curved? Notice your belly and any tension that you may hold there. And at this time, let it go. Notice your chest expanding and shrinking with each breath, and breathe deeply but through your nose. Notice what your body experiences inside your clothing, where your body touches your underwear, your socks, your shirts, your pants, or your dress. Just notice it. Starting from the top of your head, bring your attention slowly down through your body. Notice your head, your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, and your chin. Remember to breathe. Notice your neck and your shoulders and your arms. Notice your hands. Notice your chest and your breathing, and then again your belly. Notice your thighs and your hips. If there's tension there, let it go. Notice your knees and your legs, your ankles and your feet. Breathe and relax. Sit still and relax. Open your eyes and notice the room again, or the space again. Give a silent nod of acknowledgement to others in the room and just breathe. Now, we may not do this at every time we meet, but from time to time, this is going to be tension-filled work, and we need some ways to help you all to relax as you go about your duties. And so from time to time, we may do this just to help you to relax as you do this work. We have created some guidelines for participation for tonight, and I'm going to quickly go over those, but then I want to brainstorm on what you all think might be some good guidelines for your future meetings and some group norms that you might want to consider. So the guidelines for participation that we have outlined is that you honor silence, because the purpose, part of the purpose tonight is to get everyone to engage in the dialogue and the conversation and to present ideas and suggestions on things that we might do and consider. And every once in a while, folk don't want to be the first to speak, or folk just don't want to speak at all, and that's okay. You should honor that silence whenever that happens. We ask that you speak for yourself using what we call I statements. Some might say that you speak in the I singular versus the I plural, but simply means that you speak for yourself. Very often, as an African-American male, I am asked the question, well, Willie, what are black folk thinking? Well, there are 41 million black folk in this country, and I have no idea what all of them are thinking, but I can tell you what I'm thinking, so think for yourself. Speak for yourself. And next then is to think for yourself. I think our country is in a lot of trouble because we have too many people who allow other people to do their thinking for them. And so as a part of this process, you all are going to have to think for yourselves. Share air times with others, so as you all become more talkative and engaged in the conversation, if you're that person who has the ability to just suck all of the air out of the room, we're not going to let you do that. Can't do that. Share the air time with the other people. Listen actively to others, and we talked earlier about the importance of active listening. Avoid use of your cell phone. Follow directions from the facilitators. We ask that you open your minds, because your minds are just like parachutes. If they aren't open, they don't operate properly. This may be a little difficult. They talk about honoring confidentiality, but if it's going to be a live stream and a matter of public record, there may be some things that you might want confidential, but I would suggest that you have those in sidebar conversations and not in this open forum. And have some fun while you do this. This can be depressing work. And we don't want you to leave here after 12 months just all down and feeling down as a result of participating in this process. So try to see if you can have some fun as we move through these next 12 months of working together. So having said these as preliminary guidelines for participation or group norms, I need to know, what is it that you all think you will need from each other moving forward when you have your next 12 to 14 meetings? What are some things that you all would like to see as guidelines, keeping in mind that when you start off, that is simply what they are, guidelines. But once you put them into place and you start to honor and to practice them, they then become your group norms. So what are the guidelines that you all would like to see become group norms for this group as it goes about doing its work together? And we'll hear from anyone.
I'm going to say Janet Wright, and I'm going to say respect. I didn't see that in the list of things, being mutually respectful of things that may be different from the way you perceive them.
And can you say that again? I didn't quite hear you.
Oh, sorry. Let's do this. I'm going to say respect.
Respect.
Remaining mutually respectful regardless of what someone else may have.
Excellent.
A different opinion, a different experience, a different idea, and just because it's not yours, make sure that we remain respectful and open at that time.
Okay, so if someone would capture that, we want mutual respect. In other words, it's okay to disagree, but it is not okay to attack, shame, or blame anyone.
It's not.
All right, anyone else?
This is Councilman Holmes. I'd love to make sure that we all put forth the necessary effort to be prepared. There may be some preparation that we need to do in between meetings, readings, research, whatever it may be. Make sure that we take the necessary effort to be prepared so that we can maximize the time of each of these sessions.
Excellent, so be prepared, absolutely, thank you. Anyone else, please? Yes, sir.
Hi, this is Joseph Alston. I'd like people to be honest and share your experiences, because we all have commonalities, but each of us come from a different space. And the only way we can actually broach the subject is that each one of us share what has happened in your space.
Excellent.
So that we can mutually then bring everything together.
Excellent, very good, thank you for that. So be honest and share with the group. Anyone else, please? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see that people be willing to commit to put in extra time if we need to.
Excellent.
A year seems short, and I know the California Reparations Task Force, one of the first things they did was take it to two-day meetings. So that's just something to think about.
So it's about commitment. Be committed and putting in the time. Yes. Anyone else, please?
Yes, Bridget Oliver speaking. I would like for us to have healthy arguments.
Have healthy arguments. These are healthy debates. They're not arguments. They're debates.
Healthy
Yes.
debates, yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Anyone else, please?
This is Robert Sims, and you actually say it in the guidelines, but be open to a new concept.
Be open to a new concept, absolutely. Anyone else, please?
Well, this is Dawn Alston Page. I would like for us not to be afraid to be specific and to fight for Black Americans who are descended from chattel slavery and have them be our first and foremost priority. Don't be afraid. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to be specific.
Yep.
Yes, excellent. Very good. These are really fantastic.
Doris Patrick, actually, is it Gil? The first lady that spoke, she spoke on respecting each other. We have the right to disagree with you, but let's agree to be agreeable to move on, you know, because you have
Excellent.
the right to your opinion. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you are different. You have the right to think. So let's see what we can get out of that. The best thing that we could get out of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just based on what my sister just said, the importance of this is that all too often we find ourselves where we put people into what we call our jail of truth. And let's say you and I meet for the first time and you do something that I don't like and I decide, well, I can't stand her, I don't want to have nothing to do with her. Then I have effectively put you into my jail of truth. The only thing wrong with that is that in order to keep you in the jail of truth, it requires a gatekeeper. That means I have to stay back there to keep you in the gate. Therefore, you can't move forward, but I can't move forward either. So in order to move forward, you got to be willing to let people go. It's about forgiveness and understanding that too many of us can't forgive because we think forgiveness is for the other person. Forgiveness is not for the other person. Your forgiving is for you. So stop being those gatekeepers and holding folk back. Excellent, very good. Thank you for that. Anyone else?
I want to add
Go ahead.
something else to this, Dr. Wade, for the record. You cannot have the type of dialogue, you cannot engage in the charge at hand unless you have mutual respect as it relates to the differing views that will occur in this group. More importantly than that, or equally as important as that, is the ability to listen, to understand, versus listening to defend or respond. I don't know if anyone's can really kind of understand that unless you relate it back to relationships, whether it be with your children, whether it be with your significant others, etc. At the end of the day, if you're listening to defend, if we've already got our mind made up, then those conversations are never productive. If anything, they're counterproductive, and they serve to create ill feelings because people feel that the only perspective that one wants to hear is their own. And so this is about subordinating that sometimes in many of us, that natural inclination to want to defend my point. And it's more so about understanding the other person's point, because if we can do that, then at some point in time, and I'll use myself as an example. There are times when I think that my perspective is right, and I'll bring something to my daughter's attention, and then she'll say, well, Dad, have you considered this? And if I'm open, I'll say, wow, I didn't consider that, and that's actually a better solution than what I came up with. But I had to be open to that. I had to be open to the opportunity that my point may not be, my point is not the best or the brightest in the room.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Each one of you, again, you are shaped by your socialization process. I don't know how much emphasis I can put on that. You will bring that with you to every meeting. If we can manage that, if we can manage sometimes that unconscious preference, sometimes it's an unconscious bias toward a certain perspective, if we can manage that in terms of the conversations, then that there will occur the outcomes that we hope will be the foundation and the bedrock of healthy dialogue going forward. And there are people who believe that you shouldn't have biases at all, and that's not realistic. It's impossible. The bias exists in every person. The question to ask is, do I allow the bias to manage me, or do I manage the bias so that it allows me to hear what that person is saying, whether it's my brother, whether it's my sister, and listen to it and understand it and appreciate it in such a way that you can say, wow, at one time I thought that mine was the only perspective that mattered, but yeah, by listening to someone else, I've grown as a result of allowing myself to hear, to understand, to listen, to understand.
Excellent, excellent.
That'll be a recurring theme over the next 12 months or more, depending on what this esteemed commission wants to do.
So those things, or those ideas, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
This is Councilman Holmes. You're safe to dissent.
Mm-hmm.
Groupthink is dangerous. You're safe to dissent. Your opinion, even if it's counter to what everyone else is thinking, is valid.
Absolutely.
You are safe to dissent.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Absolutely. So those ideas that you all have laid out, we will capture those and we will have those in writing the next time that we meet, and hopefully we might have them placed on a big 2x4 platform board, and we'll hang it up in the room so that you all can see them by the next time that we meet. But we will capture that and bring it back to you. If I can go to this next slide. We talked a lot about building relationships, and I just simply want to say that Dr. Wade and I will work to ensure that this is a safe space for sharing ideas, talking openly and honestly, embracing paradox, because you're going to encounter a lot of paradox as you go through this work, and being okay with uncomfortable but healthy debate, as my sister Bridget said earlier. Uncomfortable but healthy debate. Okay? So, earlier we talked about, let's face it, there will come a time or two when y'all gonna be fighting with each other, and that's okay. It's natural. It happens with everybody. But it's good to know who you're fighting with and the way that they handle conflict. And so each of you has a sheet of paper with a green bar at the top that says, what is my conflict resolution style? We're gonna take some time to help you to fill this out now. And it says, each statement below provides a strategy for dealing with a conflict. Rate each statement on a scale of 1 to 4, indicating how likely you are to use this strategy. Be sure to answer the questions indicating how you would behave rather than how you think you should behave. 1 means that you rarely would behave that way. 2 means sometimes. 3 means that you often behave that way. And 4 means that you always behave that way. And you put your little scores next to the numbers 1 through 15 to your left as you read those sentences. We need to just give them a chance. Talk to them and see if we really want them to do this tonight. You have about 1 minute, please. And your time is now up. If you have answered all 15, you now need to look at the bottom of the sheet of paper and look, if you see in the first gray box, it says collaborating. For question 1, whatever number you have, place that there. For question 5, place that number there. For question 7, place that number there, and then total it over to your right. You have 30 seconds. Okay, so in a second, I'm going to give you all an opportunity to share with your fellow commissioners what is your preferred conflict resolution style. Please keep in mind that these things are not absolute. It's just more likely than not when you find yourself in conflict, this is how you resolve it. And you may fill this out a month or two from now and come up with a totally different set of scores, because that's how human beings operate. But this is how you operate for tonight. And before you share your scores, let me just say that collaboration is creating the win-win. Collaboration is different from the other 4 styles in that it requires you to have conversation, to understand values and interests and needs, and you come to a place where all of the parties involved in the conversation can walk away feeling okay about it and felt that they have won and that their needs have been met. Then you have competing, which is a win-lose way of dealing with conflict, because one person will win and the other person will lose. But if that is the way that you resolve your conflict, as far as the person who has lost is concerned, the conflict is not over. So competition does not bring resolution to conflict. You have avoiding, which is a lose-lose proposition. And we all have had those situations where we have avoided a conflict, and that just allows it to fester and get worse over time. You have accommodation, which is also a win-lose proposition. And accommodation is those times when you just don't want to deal with this person anymore. And for those of you who have a significant other or children, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just give them what they want so that they will leave you alone. Well, you have accommodated them. And if you're the type person who accommodates a lot and you leave that situation thinking about what you woulda or you shoulda or you coulda done, that's a good possibility that you should not have accommodated. And then you have compromise. Compromise, all of us are familiar with, and we've compromised on many things over our lives, but compromise does not fully give you what you want. So for instance, if my brother and I here are in a room with an orange, and his position is he wants the orange, and my position is I want the orange. If we compromise, we split the orange down the middle, he gets half and I get half. But in his heart of hearts, what did he really want? The whole orange. So compromise does not necessarily give you everything that you might need. And you need to keep that in mind as you're going through these conversations over the next 12 months. So who would like to share with their group what their styles were, their most dominant style was?
Collaborating was mine.
Collaborating? Excellent.
Collaborating.
Collaborating?
I was tied between collaborating and compromising.
Collaborating and
Compromising.
compromising, okay? Yes, ma'am.
Collaborating.
Collaborating?
I think there might be a racial bias here. Collaborating and compromising, or am I dumb?
I didn't finish mine.
Okay, and what about you, sister?
I didn't finish mine.
Okay, and don't worry about that. You can always finish it later. Yes, sir.
Compromising and competing.
Compromising and competing. Be it with the spades kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I was collaborating.
Collaborating.
Collaborating and compromising.
Collaborating and compromising. Yes, ma'am.
Collaborating.
Excellent.
My preferred was collaborating, my least was avoiding.
Avoiding. Excellent. Yes, sir.
Collaborating.
Collaborating. So I want you all to notice what your group said. It's good that you all have a lot of collaborators on this group. That means you're going to be talking a lot, and you're going to be listening to others to hear about what their values and their interests and their needs are, and you're going to consider the whole picture, and you will be looking for ways to create the win-win for all of the sides involved. So remember this. So a quick review of the resolution. I'm not sure that we might have time to do this, and so this is going to be one of your assignments for the next meeting. I need everyone to thoroughly review the resolution because that's the heart of the work that you'll be doing. And the next time that we meet, one of the agenda items will be for you all to start deciding on how that work is going to actually happen. So you have the resolution itself, which calls for the creation of the commission. There's going to be administrative support for this process from city staff of the city of High Point. You all need to start thinking about the final report that will go to city council, including any interim reports between now and next June of 2023. And then after this work is done, the resolution calls for dissolution of this committee. So there will be an end point with this work. And the time to start thinking about that is now. We can't get middle ways through the process and start thinking about what the end might look like. We can do that if we chose to, but I think you would be best if you started that process beginning tonight. Okay, so your assignment for the next meeting is to read the resolution and be prepared to discuss it and your understanding of it when we do meet. One of the things that happens is that in the resolution, it says, at its first meeting, the commission shall elect a chair and vice chair from among its members. The term of office of each shall be for the life of the commission. And I'm going to ask Dr. Wade to come up and lead you all through an election process, and we may need to call on Jerron to help us out with that.
Thank you, sir. As was stated earlier, and as well as on your handouts and screens, part of your charge is to elect a chair and a vice chair from among this membership at this meeting. And so at this particular time, what we're looking for are nominations from the floor, from the membership, in terms of who will be the chair of the commission, as well as the vice chair of the commission for the life of the commission. Those nominations can be, you can nominate one another. You can actually self-nominate if you choose to do so. And at this time, my question to you is, are there any nominations? We'll take them one at a time. Are there any nominations for the role of chair of the One High Point Commission? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to nominate Joe Alston.
And this is?
Janet Riley Wright. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you, ma'am.
I'd like to nominate Joe Alston.
Sheila Alston. Okay.
I'd like to nominate Dawn Alston Page.
Dawn Alston Page. Okay. We've had 2 nominations. Are there others for the role of chair?
This is Robert Sims. I'd like to nominate Chuck Hensley.
Chuck Hazley. Are there any others? Having heard none, we'll move to the nominations for vice chair of the One High Point Commission. At this time, the floor is open.
I'd like to nominate Courtney Wilson for vice chair.
Okay, and
I'm Dawn Alston Page.
Okay.
Nominating Courtney Wilson also.
okay. Are we capturing that? Thank you. Okay. Are there any others for the role of vice chair of the commission?
This is Bridget Oliver. I'd like to nominate myself vice chair.
Thank you. Any other nominations from the floor? Having heard none, any discussion about any of the nominees that have been pushed forward?
Did we hear from our chair, from the people we nominated as chair, so they can just give a little insight on why they would like to be chair and their commitment and their time?
That is an excellent
Because
suggestion.
everyone may want to be, but their time may not permit them to be. So can we hear a little bit about that?
Thank you very, very much, and we certainly can do that. We'll start off with the individuals that have been nominated for chair, and we'll start off with Joe Alston. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joseph Alston. I'd like to be chair of this commission because this is a battle that I've been fighting in High Point for about 40 years now, and seen all the changes that the High Point community has gone through during that time. As far as a time commitment, this is very important. So time will be made to manage the position as it needs to be.
Thank you, Commissioner Alston. Next will be Commissioner Dawn Alston Page.
Hi, Commissioner Dawn Alston Page. I'd like to be chair because I believe that my background, I have an MBA in finance and accounting. As I said, 25 years of investment experience. But not only that, I have been a political volunteer, not only canvassing and door knocking, but also working at the Board of Elections. But not only that, I have been an active and committed and dedicated community organizer for the last 3 years. I've talked to hundreds of people about reparations, Republicans, libertarians, white people, Asian people, gay people, about reparations. And at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, we're singing the same tune. I think that where we're at now, that we require a different type of approach. I think that we're going to find when we look at High Point's history, that it's very unique and maybe not the type of story that we expected to find when we do a little digging into the history. So I think it's important that we understand specificity, understand that the lineage wealth gap as it stands right now is the result of structural, generational structural violence against a specific group of people, and that we should look at that more along the lines of genocide, which has no statute of limitations. And I do believe that I have a good idea of not only how the budget system works, but definitely how to write policy, how to advocate. I've met with city council members in my past life. My client base was municipalities. I managed over $1 billion of retirement money. So not only that, I'm currently retired. So I do this every day, 24/7. This is my life, and I think I have a solid strategy, though, for achieving tangible results that will comply not only with international law, but with High Point law, with North Carolina law, and not be challenged by the Supreme Court. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next is Commissioner Chuck Hensley.
Being that I was nominated for the position to offer as being the chair, I have over 15 years of administrative experience in governmental agencies, primarily in the correctional facility as a CEO, Chief Administrative Officer, or slash warden, it's commonly referred to. I've managed over a $34 million annual budget. So within all of that, I have a strong organizational perspective of how to organize individuals to get things done. And I don't impose my will. I allow for the expertise and the skills of others to help bring about what the goal is to be. So I have a managerial approach that I think would serve this commission.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll now hear from the nominees for Vice Chair. We'll start off with Commissioner Courtney Wilson Alston.
Courtney Alston Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you.
A lot of Alstons up here.
That's okay. They're all important. Thank you, Commissioner, for that correction. Please continue.
I would just like to say that time permits in this whole peeling back this onion, I'll say, but one thing I wanted to say earlier was I stand for our community, and I stand for the ones that don't have a voice. So a lot of times we get in these rooms and these spaces and we're really politically correct, and we forget, because we have graduated college or we are at a certain plateau, that we forget about our cousins or people that we may not see on the day-to-day basis, or the communities that we may not frequently drive through on the day-to-day basis, the real people that are affected. Sure, we've all experienced the hardships of the Americas and of the world, but there are some that experience them on the day-to-day basis a whole lot more than we experience them. So I want to be the person that questions the box. So when it says that we all need to be thinkers and think outside of the box, it's because we don't even know who bought the box in the first place. So I want to question a lot and find solutions to a lot of the things. And I don't want us to be afraid to ask for the big things, because it's not a handout for our community to get reparations or a resolution at all. It is actually, it's our will, and it's due to us. So I don't want us to be afraid of anything we're asking for at all. And I don't step in fear. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, we'll hear from Commissioner Bridget Oliver.
Oh, yes, this is Bridget Oliver. I would like to operate in the role of Vice Chair. I feel like I have a lot to bring to this group. I've studied African American history and literature for years. I've worked with kids from kindergarten to 12th grade, so I see how this stuff is affecting our kids, our communities, and I feel like I could really bring a lot to the table and support our group here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further conversation?
I did want to add one critical part, and not to overdo it, but I do want to point out that one thing, skill set that I possess, which is that as an investor, I led a research team of 5 analysts. So one of the critical elements of what I did was to the need to take very complicated data and then break it down and be able to communicate it to people. So that has definitely served me well as I've become a community organizer. So I just wanted to add that I do have the administrative ability as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any last thoughts? Having heard none, we'll close that discussion. And what we'll now ask you to do is for each of you to take a piece of paper. If you don't have any, some will be provided. And we would like for each one of you to list one individual for chair, one individual for vice chair, and then fold that, and we will come by and collect that. and then we'll tally it up, and we'll apprise you of the outcome of the voting.
What you don't know about me, my sense of humor. Courtney. Bridget.
If you would, staff would tally those votes. And as soon as that work is done, we'll be able to announce the findings. While we're tallying those votes, we'll continue with the meeting. Mr. Ratchford.
Okay, I noticed that it is a little past 8, and I think we were supposed to end at 8, but we're going to go a little beyond that, if that's okay. Is it 9?
I thought we had 11.
No. Okay, that is right. We have tons of time.
Good listener, right? Listening.
So if we can go to the next slide in the presentation. At some point, we'll need to talk about commission meetings, and these are decisions that you all will have to make. How many meetings and timelines, and when we were speaking with staff earlier about the possibility of working with you all, we had mentioned 15 meetings. It could be more if you all decide that. It's just that right now, and with regards to time, it has, unless they change that, it has to happen between now and the end of June of 2023. But we can decide on the total number. But right now, we're looking at 14, maybe 15 meetings. We'll need to talk about the frequency of the meetings. Are we going to meet once a month, once every 3 weeks? I think at the very least, we need to meet at least once a month, possibly more to start off with. But then, as time goes by, we can start meeting once a month. Whoever the chair and the vice chair are, Dr. Wade and I will work with those persons to help with agenda development for each of the each of the meetings. And then at some point, you all are going to have to make some decisions about how you go about doing the work as outlined in the resolution. So the question is, you're going to work as one big group on all of those things that are listed in the resolution, or are you going to assign ad hoc groups or subcommittees and give them assignments based upon what's in the resolution? And you all will need to decide what works best for you as a group, especially when you consider the volume of work that needs to be done now between now and June 30th. And so we have a year, but there's a whole lot of work to be done. And again, you all can best decide how that will be done. As we had mentioned earlier, administrative support will be provided by city staff going through this process over the next 12 months. With regards to reports and updates, you all can decide what, if any, reports and updates you want to give to the city manager in her office, as well as elected officials. Again, you all will make that decision. Venue, where will we meet? And my assumption is that we probably will meet here most times, and there's a possibility that we may meet elsewhere. If that happens, we will let you know in advance, okay? So be thinking about these things with regards to the commission meetings. This is just, again, a commission meeting agenda template that's etched in Jell-O, and we just put this here as a way to get you to thinking about what your template should look like. But we say a call to order, you talk about attendance, the review the commission membership status. As I understand it, you have a couple of folk who are on reserve in the event someone else can, a full-fledged member, commission member cannot fulfill their duties, they may need to step aside. We'll talk about approval of the minutes from the previous meeting, or the what we might call the action notes from the previous meetings. Any reports of the chair and vice chair and updates on things that you all are actually doing. If you decide that you're going to have subcommittees or ad hocs, then they would obviously give some reports. You need to start now. You need to start talking now about what final report development looks like and how you're going to provide status and update on that. You would then close those meetings out with arranging date and times for the next meeting, and you adjourn, and any other thing that you all might want to add. But you all need to be thinking about, is this a good template for you all, or would you prefer something else? I think we established early on with the advice from the city attorneys that you will use Robert's Rules of Order as your operational guidelines, but within that, there are going to be some consensus building from time to time, but the primary guideline will be Robert's Rules of Order. And then, if it's okay with you all, we can spend some time now talking about team building, or we can do that at the next meeting, and I'll let you all decide what that looks like. But what we want to do, or the exercise that we want to take you through regarding team building, is to have you all to visualize exactly what you think an ideal team looks like doing this work. And so we'll give you time to brainstorm and create a vision of what a great team looks like, and if it's an ideal team that satisfies the needs of everybody and will put you in a position to get the work done, you brainstorm on what that looks like, and that becomes your vision. After you create that division, we would then take you to a process where we ask you 4 questions. And the first question would be, to achieve the vision that you all have just established, what are some things that, even though you all are right now you're not a convened group, but you are, I lost the terminology there, but you're a group that's just been put together. You're a put-together group at this point, and that's not the right terminology, and there's a term that I lost, but I'll come to. You're not a convened group. Eventually, you will become a convened group, but what are some things that you all are currently doing now in your daily lives with your families and your churches and your workplaces that you all need to keep doing, because those things will help you to achieve that dream vision of the team that you want to be? That will be the first question you will respond to. The second question would be, what are some things that you're currently doing now that you need to stop doing because those prevent you from achieving the vision that you want? And then the third question would be, what are some things that you currently are not doing that you need to start doing because those will help you to achieve that vision? And then the fourth question is something that we like to use all the time, because whenever stuff happens in a community, we have too many people in the community who raise the question, well, now that that's happened, what are this commission going to do? What is city council going to do? What is the city manager's office going to do? Well, we like to ask the question, well, what are you going to do? What are you personally willing to do to see to it that you all have that ideal team moving forward? And we use that as the basis for building the team that you all will in fact become. Okay? And I think we'll say that for the agenda, the beginning of the agenda at the next meeting, but the type of team that you're going to be and that you envision is going to be crucial and important to the success of this commission. Other matters for discussion that we will talk about next time is the establishment of subcommittees and ad hoc committees, if you all determine that is an appropriate thing to do to help you get this work done. We'll talk about how you go about with the commission updates for elected officials. And then I also want to talk about the parameters for public participation in the commission meetings. As I understand public meetings in North Carolina, you all have the choice of allowing the public to participate, or you can require, you can say that it is not your desire to allow them to participate, and they would simply sit and listen. They might question you after the meeting, but during the meeting, unless you all decide they can, then they cannot participate. Okay? At some point, we'll get to you the next meeting, the date, the time, and the venue. And I like to say in here, create a compelling purpose for your meeting. That will be important. And finally, to one step from getting us closed out tonight, and I'm going to need to hear from each of you, and I'll go down the line. Based on what you have experienced tonight, and now that you have a better sense of what you've gotten yourself into, share with us one word which describes how you will be leaving here tonight. Commissioner, please, one word which describes how you will be leaving here tonight.
Committed.
Committed. Yes, ma'am.
Tangible.
Tangible. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Excited.
Excited. Yes, ma'am.
Awake.
Say again, please.
Awake.
Awake. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Apprehensive.
Apprehensive. Yes, ma'am.
Committed.
Committed. Yes, sir.
Excited.
Excited. Yes, sir.
Focused.
Focused.
Compelled.
Compelled.
Empowered.
Empowered.
Encouraged.
Encouraged.
Excited.
Excited. Let me just sort of hop on one word that I really like, and that's the word empowerment. And I would hope that you all understand what empowerment really means. All too often, we have gone out into poor communities over the years, and we have said to the residents of those communities, we are going to empower you, and we will decide what's right for your community and when it's going to get done and who's going to pay for it and who's going to benefit from it and not. And if those folk did not do what we wanted, then we would snatch those things back, which meant that they were never really empowered in the first place. Empowerment means that you simply provide opportunities for folk, and they empower themselves and take advantage of those opportunities that have been set before them, and they make the decisions about what happens in their communities. That's true empowerment. True empowerment is not something that you can give and then take away. It's something that people can take on their own if you give them the opportunity. And with that, we're going to, I think we're close to making the announcements about the election tonight. Say again? Okay. I'm going to let Dr. Wade explain that in case it's troublesome. It's his fault. I'm just messing. Go ahead.
Thank you. We actually have a runoff. We had one situation on the vice chair where it does not appear that everybody voted. And so we're going to have that vote again. And also, we've got a tie in the chair between Commissioner Alston and Commissioner Hensley. So we're going to ask everybody to vote.
There were two Alstons. Which Alston was it? Joe?
I'm sorry, Joe Alston, yes, and Commissioner Chuck Hensley. So we're going to ask everybody to vote again. And we're going to, and if you don't have paper, we will get you paper. And yes. The two individuals, as I said, the runoff would be on the vice chair There were only 2 nominations, and that was Commissioner Alston Wilson and Commissioner Tolliver. So, and then for the chair, it would be between Commissioner Joe Alston and Commissioner Chuck Hensley. And if you could cast your votes on the same sheet of paper, that would be greatly appreciated.
What were the names again on the vice chair?
Certainly. The names on the vice chair are Commissioner Wilson, Courtney Wilson, and Commissioner Bridget Oliver.
That's why we do it.
And if you will just bear with us a few minutes longer, the staff will tally up the results of the vote.
All of the above.
So while the group is tallying the remaining votes, to help expedite getting us out of here, Dr. Wade and staff and I will take any questions that you all might have about anything.
One of the things I'd like to offer is that there were some tasks that were identified a little bit earlier regarding the upcoming meeting, and upon the results of the election, we'll be working with the chair and vice chair in terms of developing that upcoming agenda for the future work.
I have more of a comment than a question, if
Mhm.
that's okay. I didn't vote tonight. I listened and observed, and I'm excited to do that, if that's my charge on this commission. My name is Constance Reynolds, for the record. I wanted to just say out loud, because you guys gave us an incredible presentation and demonstration on what the damage of racism might feel like. And looking around the room, I just wanted it to be said out loud that when I look at my commissioners to the right of me and the left of me, I don't think we have to imagine what the effects of racism feel like. I think when you look around the room, when you talk about having a difficult conversation, preparing for a difficult conversation, this is a conversation that I know the majority of the people in this room have had and are having constantly and often. And I also would like to say, for the record, when you look around the room, we know who is not prepared to have this difficult conversation. And I think that piece of the puzzle matters. Moving forward, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to do the work. And I just would like for everyone to stay awake and aware. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you again for your patience. We now heard the results of the vote. The chair of the One High Point Commission is Chair Alston, and the vice chair is Chair Alston Wilson. And so congratulations to both of you. And both Ms. Rashford and myself will make ourselves available to you at your convenience to work on what the upcoming agenda for the next meeting should be, as well as to answer any questions and provide any support you may need in order for this commission to be as successful as it can be.
And we now stand adjourned. Thank you.